Hi, I'm Bailey Jones. I'm also here with Senior Ella Goldsmith and Senior Rory Fat Anthony. We're all members of National Art Honor Society, and today our guest is local artist Gary G. So, can you tell us a little bit about your background as an artist? Like, what do you do and what do you make?
Hi, I'm Bailey Jones. I'm also here with Senior Ella Goldsmith. Wait a minute. I think and Senior Rory Fat Anthony. We're all members of National Art Honor Society, and today
you are on the live event, you'll need to exit out of that and just use the phone.
All right, now I'm back here. I'm just on the phone.
Bailey, can you repeat your question?
Okay, yeah. So, can you tell us a little bit about your background as an artist? Like, what do you do and what do you make?
So my background as an artist, I've primarily been drawing since I was maybe 5 years old. So a lot of my artwork is based on drawing. I also do some mixed media painting and some ceramic work as well. Moved into more murals in the last year and a half around the city.
Sorry. I was gonna say, I saw your like brick things and I thought they looked really, really cool.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. I went to high school locally at Tech and
on some of your murals. How might the Black Lives Matter movement be applicable to that, and maybe your art in general, or maybe your specific art as well?
You saying how do they connect?
Mm-hmm.
Hello?
Yeah, so what's the connection between the Black Lives Matter movement and your art?
The connection between the Black Lives Matter movement and my art, basically it's just life experience. I've always been Black. I've always been an artist, so I think it just naturally works for me. Kind of added in social commentary and at times being a voice for the voiceless is how I look at it. So that's pretty much how I started about it ideologically, because art is usually at the forefront of all like movements or changing times. So I remember like when the riots were going on, I wasn't necessarily going to go down in the riots, but as the dust started to settle and, it was just a lot of messages that could be displayed. And sometimes if you're yelling stuff from a soapbox, nobody's really going to hear it. But if you have a visual image to see and attach to it, it might kind of like remain in your brain somewhat or make you think deeper. That's how I kind of look at it. The context of the messages in my artwork when it pertains to like social commentary in general, and that includes the Black Lives Matter movement.
So, you were just talking about how what it meant for you to make the artwork recently after the riots. I was wondering, did you have similar experiences with the artists you worked with on the mural on Indiana Avenue?
Yeah. Now that itself was like really phenomenal and like a special feeling to me. Given for one that we were working on Indiana Avenue, which was historically Black at one point in time, and I mean even prior to that, it was like Indiana Avenue was a fairway for a lot of immigrants in the city. Period. A lot of businesses. So there's a lot of history on the avenue, and people forget about it because the decay or ran down and redlined in the society. And then to see like myself, and it was really more than 17 other artists, because there were artists down the city helping us. So I know there were like over 30 Black artists in the city working at the same time, which was really a phenomenal feat. Also given like the city's racial history, like from past eons. So to me, it was just like, it was a really great day. And then there was a lot of people from all walks of life and all kind of energies combined for something positive. So it was really like just a surreal moment to be there in the midst of it. It's kind of like you're living in a part of history that you don't realize is history at the time.
So, how do you seek out opportunities like this? Did you talk to them or did they come to you? And how has that changed as you became more popular as an artist?
Well, it's kind of weird at times. So as an artist, on that particular instance, there was like a call out for artists. And one of the organizers I had talked to at first about it, I was doing some of the other projects. So like the murals downtown on the murals downtown for radical justice, I was contacted by the Arts Council and the Indiana Symphony for that one. But it was Molly Jeffers, Alan Bacon, Stacia Murphy, like were some of the organizers for the street mural. And my name was on the list. And then it was like I wasn't on the list. And then I got back on the list. So it was kind of like, I just feel like I was supposed to be there. Like one of the artists dropped out at the last minute. And that's how I got back into the project. So I don't know. I just felt like I was just supposed to be there. It was like real organic. Yeah, so that's kind of how I got into that particular mural. And as far as like opportunities, I think consistency is the key. So like a lot of times people will know what we're doing when we think no one is watching. If we keep doing the same things consistently as artists, working on ourselves. I talk to other artists that myself feel that like we're our only competition. So if we keep challenging ourselves, we'll keep creating opportunities, or opportunities will come our way, and it'll feel like it just came out of nowhere, but it was really work that you was already doing, or someone saw, just like y'all in the arts honor society, and y'all interviewing me right now. You know what I mean? Like maybe a few months ago, you might not have even envisioned yourselves doing some of the things that you're doing, but it's just like staying consistent to your goals at hand. And I think you end up where you're supposed to be.
So, as you're talking about how you sought out opportunities and you worked on this mural to collaborate with other people to empower the Black community, how are some ways that white allies could do the same thing? And what are some opportunities that white allies could seek out these opportunities as well?
Well, as far as white allies, I have had a lot of white allies, and sometimes it's just like people speaking up on behalf of others, and it doesn't just like whoever's different or indifferent in like maybe a majority of the sense that like other people are also capable of doing work. And if you're already an ally, then you're probably already looking at things differently than maybe like the normal popular ways of thinking have been historically. So I just think it's just looking at people as individuals sometimes, or looking at like, everybody's capable of doing certain things if you're given the opportunity. So it's just to try to, I guess, allow people the opportunities when the opportunities arise. Like sometimes, people will even suggest things to me that may not be the best fit for me, but just the simple fact that they even offered it to me to see if I'm interested in it, or have asked my opinion about, trying to find someone else or someone that I may know, of like a different gender or a different color. Hello?
Yeah.
So it's like, I think it's just, advocating for people in general is the best way to be an ally. Hello?
So how has your art become an outlet for you to like motivate and uplift other Black voices in the community?
That one I know, but I don't know. I think just staying true to myself, like or my thoughts and ideologies. Like sometimes we may have a thought on our mind that you might think you're the only person in the world thinking that thought. But if you put it out, you'll get a response from other people that sometimes they feel the same way or that same sentiment. Or there are sometimes in pieces, like say for instance, when I was doing the mural downtown on the Symphony Center, my focus was like the Statue of Liberty and the Lady Justice, like lifted her blindfold. And I was kind of putting like all walks of people in there. You know, sometimes you don't even think about it. The guy runs up on me and he was like, I didn't have any Latinos that looked like him on there. You know, he's a bald head guy with a long goatee. So I ended up just putting him in artwork, and he came back like a week later. I was talking to me, and he was like, hey man, you didn't put any Latinos in there. So I showed him where I put him, and he was just happy. So it was just like, you know, I guess just the same feeling, like he just talked to me, we had a conversation, and he was right. You know, I had these people in there, but I didn't have anybody that looked like him. You know what I'm saying? So just by me including him in a little piece of art made him feel better. He tell somebody else. I mean, I think it's the same for me personally. Like, I don't see myself in all the artwork was out or in different galleries or representing the people where I came from. So I decided I just wanted to start creating what I saw. And hopefully, you know, people would catch on, and they did. So sometimes it's just like trying to capture a feeling or a mood. And I think that's it. And also, like looking at art history, like I found out like the people who influenced me in art. So like Orange was my actual influence, but I was always like as a child, I admired J.J. Evans from Good Times. And when I went to college, I had to find out that Ernie Barnes was actually the painter that painted those paintings, but he was a black man and a professional football player. So it kind of threw me for a loop too to learn that, you know. And it was like my whole life I didn't really know that's what was inspiring me. So I guess for me, just try to keep that same feeling, and hopefully I can inspire others.
So how can we use art to help spread awareness of social issues? You mentioned the mural, so like, do you use social media too to help spread awareness?
Well, I mean, it's a lot of things you could do. You could start, so even if it wasn't just the murals per se, say you can start with flyers or postcards, like little posters, and T-shirts. So I think a lot of the things, or just even including some of the messages in your artwork itself, is just kind of how it starts. To me, it's really kind of up to the artist's interpretation, but whatever you authentically feel is what I think that you should try to create or recreate that feeling that you feel. If that makes sense to you.
So you talked about how you should use your feelings, right, to make your art. I was wondering when did that start to become something that you did often? Like, did you always put a lot of emotion into your work? Did you always hope to get a certain response from your audience, or did that develop over time?
Well, I think before finding the audience, it was just like being to myself. So it kind of reversed back to like how you asked me about like the art or therapy aspect. So art has always been like kind of therapeutic to me. Like even as a child, when I would have a lot of stuff on my mind, like I look at sketchbooks and drawing almost like a diary. So it might be just, like I said, I'll always kind of play with my thoughts or feelings or emotions to a certain degree. But like sometimes the stuff was guarded. And I think when I got to the point that I was like, hey, I'll let my way of thinking out. And, you know, it's kind of like you have to let your guard down a little bit when you're doing it, because it is your emotion. So it's kind of like you're bearing your soul in a sense. But like I said, I think when you open it up to others, you allow others to come in a sense, and it sparks a lot of conversations. So the context comes like on its own, like organically. It's kind of what I like to do. So the times that I think that I've purposely set out, like, hey, I'm gonna try to make this message, it never worked out. You know what I mean? But if I just let it come organically, it always seems to be or feel more authentic to me. And so that's why I'm just like, as an artist, I think we should just be like true to ourselves. Like, there'll be things that you have to learn and do, but that doesn't necessarily mean you just have to conform to society or societal norms. Like I said, at times we're like the voice of the voiceless, or visually, like some of the murals that I've done, like a lot of the times when you're working outside on murals, especially like in neighborhoods, busy streets, you'll get a lot of the people in transit sometimes. Sometimes you get homeless people, you get alcoholics or drug addicts. But one time, one of the things that touched me, I was working on a mural and the guy gave me $1. He said, I just made his day. He was happy to see our neighborhood and it just made him feel better. You know what I mean? So it's those little things like that. Like, you might like the credit from a real big organization at first, but if you can make the people close to you feel good, so that starts with like your family, your friends, and your own community. Like, you just try to capture a small section, and your audience grows from there. And a lot of it will just be, word of mouth, or people just learn to appreciate your character and how you look at things. But just start small is how I look at it. It's just start small. If you can capture a small audience's attention, then you can grow and capture a larger audience's attention. And there's always room for growth. Like, there's no glass ceiling as an artist. I think that's it. And you just inspire and spark change through your artistry. And I think that's like one of our biggest gifts and take backs is looking at it like that.
So you mentioned staying true to yourself and presenting that in your art, and then also starting small in how you evoke that response in your audience. So how did you start small, and like what was a hurdle that you had to overcome in the beginning work of an artist? Because some of us here, we're all in like National Art Honor Society. So what is a way that you connect to that, and what was one of those hurdles that you had to overcome as a beginning artist?
Okay, well, let me see. So a lot of it is I was a combination of being self-taught, and I went back and got like a formal education later. But I also was like privileged enough, like as a kid, to take like art classes at Heron, and I did like a summer arts institute at IU one year. So at times, some of the challenges were I was the only Black kid there. I wasn't doing what everybody else was doing. I've had some teachers that appreciated me being an individual or unique, and I've had other teachers or professors who really didn't like me at all. It was like I was challenging their system. So at times, especially as a kid or when you're younger, like things can affect you more, I think, than maybe as an adult, or people can bring that on into adulthood. So when the same things are done to me as an adult that was done to me as like junior high or high school age, it was like I could kind of adjust different. And, just know like, well, I have to work harder or I'll go another route. I mean, there were people who wanted me to change the way I look, the way I dress, the way I walk, the way I talk. That's when I go in and you have to be like true to yourself. Like, I'm a kid from the hip hop era, so it was always like we come as we are. So it was a challenge at times because, some people may be intimidated by that, but they don't understand things. Sometimes people fear what they don't know. But like I said, it just reverted into just being consistent and true to myself. And that's when others noticed what I could do or what I could have the potential to do. So for instance, like I had a professor, or a couple of professors that have become friends and mentors and now colleagues. So I'm working alongside of them or under them now, like as an adjunct professor this semester. But it was like I said, just consistency or just trying to break through or break barriers. Like somebody tells you no and you know that you're capable of doing it or you can see yourself here, it's like just don't stop pursuing the goal at hand. And I think that's what kind of started to open doors. Like there's a few instances where I was the first person to do certain things a certain way and they're telling me, if it goes good, great, and we can keep doing this program, but if it goes bad, then it's over. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like the responsibility or the taking the ownership upon myself, knowing that it wasn't just me or it isn't me doing this for at times. Like sometimes it may not get the credit for what you did, but you have to open the door for somebody else. Like this kind of opened the door for me. So for me, it's like just always like paying it forward and at the same time paying it back to like ancestors or the people that came before me. So sometimes I just look at it like I said, the things that have happened to me or in my life may not necessarily been all me. You know what I'm saying? So I just try to value the opportunities and build upon them.
Yeah, absolutely. That was very inspiring. I think we have one more question from Bailey before we transition into questions from the audience.
So in 2018, you did a social media project and you gave advice and you call it Monday to Monday. So do you have any advice you'd like to give us today for people who are struggling during the pandemic and these socially challenging times?
Let me see. So it is a weird time for all of us. And I know I thought about it the most. And the people that I felt like, you know, a lot of us are talking about life. I felt like the people that got cheated the most was like kids that had kindergarten graduations, 8th grade graduations, high school graduations, or college graduations. It's like all of our lives have been kind of postponed. And I think we have to look at that we're not necessarily alone. We're kind of all in this together. Sometimes it's okay to just cry, scream, yell, and let it out. You know what I'm saying? It's like, hey, it's going to get better before it gets worse if we keep a positive attitude. And it's just kind of looking at it like, you know, I think it was Martin Luther King. It's like, it's one small step. I'm trying to think of the exact quote. But it's like, you know, every small step brings us closer to a longer journey. Right now, sometimes we just might have to take small steps, but it's a time when we're sitting at home and you have the time, you can perfect your craft, you can write a book, you can work on that masterpiece, you can write a screenplay, learn a new cooking recipe. Like you kind of have time now to do some of the things that you didn't think you had time to do in life, and just appreciate the time that we have now, like with your family and your friends, and you may find out that some of the most valuable things in life are truly free.
Okay, so now we're gonna for the last. Oh, well, we have 1 minute left, so.
Okay.
Should.
We can take one question from the audience.
Okay.
So one of the questions from the audience is, what has been your favorite piece of artwork that you have created?
I have a lot of pieces that I say I'm really attached to. Two of them are Changing Faces, and it was a piece that I did, like a 2D mixed media piece that I could change on all 4 sides. It's kind of like my logo. But another one of my favorite pieces is The King is Black. So it's a ceramic skull that I worked on, and it kind of fell apart, and I put it back together. But when I looked at the falling apart, it's like sometimes we can be broken in life, and my life was kind of broken at times, and you could be put it back together and carry yourself in this regal manner. But the other thing that I really love about this piece is it's my most traveled piece. So I did it in 2018 for Art and Soul, and then it went to a private showing at an architectural firm here called Axis. Then I took it to Brooklyn, It ended up in San Francisco. It ended up in Chicago at Black Creativity, which was like one of my first national shows. It was in National Urban League when they had the big anniversary here, like last summer before the pandemic. It's like on one of my business cards that I took to Miami. I finally made it to Art Basel, not as an artist, but just to visit. And some of the artists that I showed it to were like national artists or curators were like, "You did this?" So that's just one of my pieces that I'm proud of because it was an accident and it was an accident and like it got broken and I put it back together, but it's like one of my most famous pieces. It's on my website and I always get a lot of cool conversations behind that piece. So I'm kind of torn, like I had people that finally wanted to buy it and I wouldn't sell it. So that was kind of dear to my heart. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you for meeting with us today, and it was very interesting and inspiring to talk with you about your work as an artist.
Well, thank y'all for having me.
Of
Good
course.
luck to everybody. I'm sure that in time in life, maybe I will cross your paths as artists. And y'all the next generation, so just keep working now so y'all gonna replace us someday.
Thank you. We really appreciate that.
Thank y'all. I appreciate being